In the quiet depths of space, a human girl named Emily was on her way to visit her family on a distant planet. She wasn't a soldier or a warrior. She was just a regular young woman who had never seen the dangers of the galaxy. Emily was excited to see her loved ones after many years, as she had spent most of her life studying and working on a space station far away from home. Her ship was small but fast, designed for long journeys across the stars. She had a few friends aboard the ship, people who worked with her and shared stories as they traveled. The stars outside the window sparkled, and for a moment, everything seemed peaceful. But in the vastness of space, peace was a rare thing. The ship was suddenly shaken. A loud alarm blared, and Emily was thrown from her seat. She scrambled to her feet, looking around in confusion. Her fellow travelers were just as shocked, trying to figure out what was happening. The crew rushed to the control room, but it was too late. A massive alien ship appeared on the radar, its dark silhouette filling the screen. The Xel'Naut, a race known for their cruelty, had intercepted her ship. These aliens were notorious for their violent ways, and they showed no mercy. Emily's ship was too small and too slow to outrun them. The Xel'Naut moved in quickly, and within moments, their ships surrounded the human vessel. "Take cover," one of Emily's friends shouted, but it was no use. The Xel'Naut boarded the ship with terrifying speed. They were tall, their bodies covered in thick, armored skin. Their eyes glowed a bright red, and their weapons hummed with deadly energy. The humans tried to defend themselves, but it was clear they were no match for the ruthless invaders. Emily hid in the corner, her heart racing as she watched the Xel'Naut tear through the ship. They captured the crew and forced everyone into one of the ship's smaller rooms. The fear in the air was thick. No one knew why the Xel'Naut had attacked them, but the answer became clear when they approached Emily. The alien leader, a towering figure with sharp teeth and cold eyes, stepped forward. He looked at Emily for a long moment, as if deciding what to do with her. Then, without warning, he raised his hand, and one of his soldiers moved to carry out his order. Emily's breath caught in her throat, but she couldn't scream. She was frozen in place, unable to move. The soldier raised his weapon, a sleek, black device that hummed with power. It was designed for one purpose only: destruction. The Xel'Naut leader gave a sharp nod, and in an instant, Emily was gone. A single shot ended her life, her body collapsing to the floor. The room fell silent. Her friends and the rest of the crew stared in horror, unable to comprehend what had just happened. Emily, a young human girl with a bright future, was dead, murdered by an alien race that had no reason to do it other than their own twisted pleasure. The Xel'Naut didn't care. To them, humans were just another weak species in the galaxy, easy to manipulate, easy to destroy. They had killed Emily without a second thought, but what they didn't realize was that this was no ordinary human. This was someone loved, someone who meant the world to others. And the death of one human would soon awaken something in the hearts of all humans, a power that Xel'Naut could never have imagined. Back on Earth and across the human colonies, the news spread quickly. The death of Emily was a shock to everyone. But it wasn't just the loss of one girl that made people angry. It was the realization that this kind of violence could happen to any human, anywhere, at any time. The Xel'Naut had made a terrible mistake. The Galactic Council, made up of many alien species, was unaware of the power that humans possessed. They thought of humans as weak and insignificant, but they had no idea what they had just set in motion. Across the galaxy, humans began to react. There were whispers of revenge, of justice. But more importantly, there was a deep, burning anger that spread like wildfire through the human race. The death of one girl had sparked a fire in the hearts of billions. The humans were not going to forget what had happened. They would not let the Xel'Naut or anyone else believe they could kill one of their own without consequences. Emily's death would not be in vain. It would be the beginning of something much bigger. And the Xel'Naut, along with every other alien species that had underestimated humanity, would soon learn the true meaning of fear. The death of Emily rippled across the galaxy. It wasn't just a tragic event. It was the beginning of something far greater. In the quiet corners of the galaxy, humans had always been seen as weak. They were just a young species, stuck on a small planet. The other races had dismissed them, thinking they could never be a threat. But they were wrong. The truth about humanity's power was about to be revealed. On Earth, people mourned the loss of Emily. Her family held a funeral, and the world watched as her name became a symbol of pain and anger. But beneath the sorrow, something else was brewing. People weren't just sad. They were furious. They were ready for action. Emily's death had lit a fire inside every human being, a fire that had been dormant for far too long. Humans were different from the other species in the galaxy. They didn't just fight with weapons or technology. They fought with something much more powerful: their emotions. When humans were pushed to their limits, when they faced overwhelming odds, they didn't give up. Instead, they became stronger. The more pain they felt, the more determined they became. Their anger, grief, and fear made them powerful in ways the galaxy had never understood. This power was not something they used every day. It was hidden deep inside them. But when it was unleashed, it was unstoppable. As the news of Emily's death spread to the farthest reaches of space, humans everywhere felt a shift. They began to realize that they weren't as weak as the galaxy had made them believe. They were more than just another species. They were something new, something different. And the time had come to show the universe what humans were capable of. The first signs of this power appeared in the human empire's military. Soldiers, once ordinary men and women, started to show unusual strength and courage. They fought with a passion they had never known before. Their weapons seemed to work better, their ships moved faster, and their tactics became sharper. Even the most seasoned commanders couldn't explain what was happening, but they could feel it. Something had changed. Across human colonies, people began to talk. Stories spread of soldiers who had fought with more than just their skills. They had fought with something deep inside them, something that made them powerful beyond belief. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. But it wasn't just the soldiers who felt the change. Ordinary civilians, from the busiest cities to the most remote villages, began to feel a surge of strength in themselves. They weren't trained warriors, but they were beginning to understand that they had a role to play. The death of one girl had made them all realize that they were connected. And when one human was hurt, all humans felt it. In the human heart, there was an undeniable will to protect, to survive, and to fight for what was right. This was the source of their power, and it was growing stronger with every passing day. The Galactic Council, on the other hand, had no idea what was happening. They were still focused on their own politics, trying to deal with the growing anger among the different species. But they never expected humanity to rise up so quickly. They never imagined that the human race, so small and insignificant in their eyes, could become a force to be reckoned with. On the Selnock homeworld, the leaders of the alien race were discussing the humans, but they were still too arrogant to realize the danger. They thought that the humans would be easy to crush, just as they had crushed other weaker species. They believed they could destroy the humans just like they had destroyed Emily. But what they didn't know was that the death of one human girl had set off something far bigger than they could have imagined. The Excelnock didn't understand the human spirit, the deep connection that tied them all together. They didn't know that every time a human was hurt, the entire human race became stronger, more united, and more dangerous. Back in the human empire, leaders began to see what was happening. They could feel the shift in their people. There was a new determination in the air. The emperor, who had been quiet for so long, knew something had to be done. The time for peace was over. The galaxy had underestimated humanity for far too long, and now it was time to show them that humans were not to be taken lightly. The emperor stood before a gathering of generals, strategists, and diplomats. They had always been a peaceful people, focused on exploration and knowledge. But now, There was no more room for peace. The death of Emily had changed everything. "We will no longer sit by and let others harm us," the Emperor said. His voice was steady, but there was a fire in his eyes. "The galaxy needs to know who we are, and we will show them, starting with the Xel'Nac." A loud cheer went up from the generals. They were ready. They had been trained for battle, but now they had something more than just training. They had the power of human spirit, a power that no weapon or alien race could match. The human soldiers, their bodies and minds now strengthened by their emotions, prepared for war. But it wasn't just about fighting. It was about showing the galaxy that humans were not weak. They were strong. They were united. And they would not let the death of one girl be in vain. The time for revenge had come, and the galaxy would soon learn what humanity was truly capable of. The news spread like wildfire. The human empire was no longer the quiet, peaceful race the galaxy had come to know. They had been pushed too far, and now they were ready to fight back. Every human, from the distant colonies to Earth itself, was filled with a burning anger. The death of Emily had become a symbol, not just of one girl's life lost, but of every human who had ever been wronged by the galaxy. The human empire had long been seen as weak, a young species with little power to defend itself. But they were wrong. What the Xel'Nac and the Galactic Council didn't realize was that humans didn't just fight for survival. They fought for each other. They fought with their hearts, with every bit of strength they could find. And now, they were stronger than anyone could have imagined. The Emperor of the Human Empire, once a quiet leader, now stood with a fire in his eyes. He had seen what his people were capable of, and he knew it was time to act. "Prepare the fleet," he ordered, his voice sharp and clear. "The Xel'Nac must pay for what they've done, and we will make sure they understand the price of crossing humanity." Across human space, soldiers and civilians alike were gearing up for war. But it wasn't just about guns and weapons. It was about the power of unity. Humanity had come together, stronger than ever before, and it was clear that they were ready to show the galaxy just how dangerous they could be. The fleet of the human empire, once small and limited, now stretched across the stars. Ships, large and small, moved in perfect harmony. Soldiers, pilots, and engineers all worked together like a well-oiled machine. But the real power of the fleet wasn't in its weapons or its ships. It was in the people who flew them. Each human aboard those ships carried the anger, the grief, and the desire for justice. The more they thought about the death of Emily, the stronger they became. Their emotions weren't just feelings. They were a weapon, a force that made them unstoppable. The Xel'Nac had no idea what was about to hit them. The first strike came without warning. The Xel'Nac had no idea that the human empire was preparing for war. They had assumed that the humans would back down, that they would cower in fear. But as the human fleet emerged from the shadows of space, the Xel'Nac were left stunned. The battle began immediately. Human ships fired with precision, their weapons deadly and accurate. The Xel'Nac ships, once feared for their strength and firepower, were quickly overwhelmed. The humans fought like they had nothing to lose, because they didn't. They fought for Emily, for every human who had been hurt, and for every person who had ever been underestimated by the galaxy. As the battle raged on, the human soldiers became more and more powerful. Each victory, each moment of success, seemed to give them more strength. It was as if the death of one girl had awakened something inside them, something they had never known existed. And with every alien ship they destroyed, the humans grew stronger. The Xel'Nac, once confident in their ability to crush any enemy, began to feel the fear creeping into their hearts. The human ships were relentless. They didn't stop, even when faced with overwhelming odds. And the Xel'Nac had no idea how to fight back against an enemy that didn't know how to quit. On the ground, human soldiers fought with the same fury. Cities on alien planets that had once been safe now became battlegrounds. The Xel'Nac had thought they could destroy humanity without consequence, But they hadn't counted on the human spirit, the unbreakable will that lived in every person. The soldiers pushed forward, never slowing down, never stopping. Every alien they encountered was a reminder of the death of Emily, and that memory made them stronger. Back in the human empire's capital, the Emperor watched as his fleet tore through the galaxy. He had seen the change in his people. He had seen the strength in their hearts. And he knew that they would never stop fighting until every last Selnock had been brought to justice. "Send the message," the Emperor ordered. "The galaxy needs to know that humanity will not be intimidated. We will fight for our people. We will fight for each other." The message was broadcast across the stars, a simple but powerful declaration. We are humanity, and we will not be stopped. The rest of the galaxy, especially the Galactic Council, began to take notice. They had heard of the humans' rise, but they had no idea the humans could be this powerful. They were used to seeing species fight for resources or power. But this was different. The humans weren't fighting for land or wealth. They were fighting for their lives, for their future, for revenge. The Excelnoc, now realizing the full extent of what they had done, tried to regroup. But it was too late. Humanity was on the rise, and they were unstoppable. As the battle continued, the tide of the war shifted. The Excelnoc, once so confident, were now scrambling to survive. They had no idea how to stop the human war machine that was bearing down on them, and the rest of the galaxy watched, both in fear and awe, as humanity's power unfolded before their eyes. The Galactic Council, which had once dismissed humans as nothing more than an afterthought, now realized that they had made a grave mistake. They had underestimated humanity, and the cost of that mistake was becoming clear. As humanity's ships tore through space, the galaxy's leaders watched in silence. The Excelnoc, once feared as the most powerful race in the galaxy, were now reeling from the fury of the human empire. The galaxy was in chaos, and no one knew what to do. The Galactic Council, a group of leaders from the most powerful alien races, had never faced an enemy like humanity before. The Council had always been in control. They made the rules. They decided who would rise and fall, and they kept the peace. They had dealt with countless species and wiped out countless threats. But the humans were different. They were not like any race the Council had ever encountered. They were unpredictable, passionate, and most terrifying of all. They fought for each other, no matter the cost. At the Council's headquarters, the mood was tense. The leaders gathered in a massive room, their faces grim as they watched the reports from across the galaxy. The Excelnoc were being pushed back, their once powerful fleets destroyed by the humans' relentless assault. The human ships, fueled by their emotions, fought with a strength no one had anticipated. "This is unacceptable," said the Council's leader, a tall, green-skinned alien named Vexnar. His voice was low and full of anger. "The humans should have been crushed by now. Why are they still fighting?" A sharp silence filled the room. The other leaders looked at each other uneasily. They knew the answer, but none of them wanted to say it aloud. The humans weren't just fighting. They were winning. And the more they fought, the stronger they became. "Their power is growing," said a smaller alien named Lyra, her voice trembling. She was one of the Council's youngest members, but even she could feel the danger. "They're using their emotions, their grief, their anger, their desire for justice. They are turning it into a weapon. We've never seen anything like it." Vexnar slammed his fist onto the table. The Excelnoc were supposed to deal with them. This should never have happened. Now we must do something, or we risk losing control over the galaxy. "But what can we do?" asked Gorak, a massive insectoid leader from a distant star system. His voice was deep and full of concern. "The humans are not like the other species we've dealt with. They're stronger, faster, and more determined than we ever imagined. We can't stop them with force alone." The Council fell silent. They all knew the truth. They had underestimated the humans. For centuries, They had dismissed them as weak, insignificant. But now, humanity was fighting back, and the Council had no idea how to stop it. Worse still, they knew that every victory the humans claimed made them more powerful. They were like a growing storm, unstoppable and fierce. "We cannot allow this to continue," Vexnar said finally, his voice cold with determination. "If we let humanity grow stronger, they will become the most powerful force in the galaxy. We will lose control." "But what if we offer them peace?" Lyra suggested hesitantly. "Perhaps we can end this without more bloodshed. We can apologize for the death of the human girl and negotiate a settlement." Vexnar shook his head. "The humans are not interested in peace. They are driven by something much stronger than diplomacy. We cannot reason with them. We must crush them before they grow too powerful." The other leaders nodded reluctantly. They knew that Vexnar was right. Humanity had proven that they could not be controlled or bargained with. Their strength came from within, from their emotions, from their very will to survive. "The Excellenok have failed us," Vexnar continued. "We need to take matters into our own hands. We will send a message to the humans, show them that we are not to be challenged." The council members agreed, though none of them seemed certain of the outcome. They had faced countless enemies over the years, but none had been like the humans. The galaxy's other species, once so confident in their power, were now trembling in fear. If the human empire continued to grow stronger, they would no longer be able to control the galaxy. Across the galaxy, the human ships continued their attack. They were relentless, unstoppable, and fueled by something no one could understand. The death of one girl had sparked something inside them, and they were now a force the galaxy had to reckon with. Back in the heart of the human empire, the Emperor watched the battle unfold. He could feel the power of his people. He knew that humanity was on the edge of something great. The Galactic Council had never believed in them, but now they were beginning to see the truth. The Emperor stood before his people, his voice strong and confident. "The time has come to show the galaxy what humanity is capable of. We will not be intimidated. We will fight for every life, for every human, and for every future. The death of Emily will not be in vain." The humans cheered, their voices rising in a deafening roar. They were united, stronger than ever before. And as the council watched, they realized something terrifying. The humans were no longer the weak species they had once thought them to be. They were a force, a new power in the galaxy that would not be stopped. The Galactic Council had made a mistake, and now they would pay the price. The human empire's fleet had grown larger with each passing day. What started as a small force to avenge Emily's death had now turned into the largest military the galaxy had ever seen. Ships filled with human soldiers, civilians, and engineers traveled across the stars, fighting not just for their own survival, but to prove to the galaxy that humans could not be ignored any longer. The Excellenok, once a proud and powerful race, were now on the defensive. Their ships, once sleek and advanced, were being torn apart by the relentless human assault. No matter how many they sent to fight, the humans seemed to multiply. Their anger, their grief, and their sense of justice made them stronger with each battle. The Excellenok were no longer in control. They were barely hanging on. In the heart of the human empire, the Emperor knew that this was the turning point. The battle was far from over, but humanity had already proven something important. They were a force to be reckoned with, and the rest of the galaxy was beginning to notice. Across the stars, the Galactic Council watched in horror. The humans, once weak and insignificant, were now a growing power. The Excellenok had failed to stop them. Their own fleets were being pushed back, their weapons unable to match the human will to fight. The Council's confidence was slowly crumbling. Vexnar, the leader of the Council, was pacing in the war room. His green skin shimmered in the dim light, his face twisted in frustration. The humans were becoming too powerful. They weren't just using weapons. They were using their emotions to fuel their fight. It was something the Council had never encountered before, and it terrified them. "We can't let this go on any longer," Vexnar said, his voice low and harsh. "If we don't stop them soon, the humans will become the rulers of this galaxy. And that cannot happen. They are unpredictable. They are dangerous." Lyra, the youngest member of the council, shifted uneasily in her seat. She had always believed in peace, in diplomacy. But now, she was beginning to see the terrifying power the humans held. "What if we try to talk to them?" she suggested. "Maybe we can reason with them. Maybe they will listen." "No," Vexnar snapped. "They won't listen. They don't want peace. They want revenge. And if we don't act quickly, they will take everything from us." The other council members murmured in agreement. They had tried diplomacy with the humans before, but it had failed. The humans were no longer interested in talking. They were only interested in winning. And every victory they gained made them stronger. "We need to send a message," Vexnar continued, his eyes burning with anger. "We will show them that we are the ones in control. We will use everything at our disposal to stop them." The council's leaders agreed on a plan. They would send their most powerful fleet to strike at the heart of the human empire. They would destroy their largest cities, their most powerful ships, and make an example of the humans. It was a brutal plan, but they were willing to do anything to stop the rise of humanity. Back in the human empire, the emperor was preparing for the worst. He knew the council would strike. He knew that the time for peace was long gone. The humans had only one choice now: fight. "Send the message," the emperor said to his generals. "We are ready. We will not back down." The human fleet was ready. It had grown stronger, faster, and more unified. The soldiers, now seasoned by countless battles, stood ready to defend their people. The death of Emily had awakened something deep inside them. It wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about protecting their future, their way of life. As the Excellenok fleet appeared on the edge of human space, the humans did not hesitate. The battle began with a deafening roar. Weapons fired, ships collided, and the once peaceful stars were filled with the chaos of war. Human ships, their engines roaring with power, cut through the enemy's lines. The Excellenok were stunned. They had never seen anything like this before. The humans didn't fight like any other species. They fought with an energy, with a passion that made them unstoppable. Each alien ship they destroyed seemed to give them more strength. The Excellenok couldn't understand how the humans were doing this. Every time they thought they had the upper hand, the humans pushed back harder. The human empire's fleet moved in perfect harmony. Soldiers and officers, no matter their rank or skill, fought as one. It was the strength of their unity that made them so powerful. They were not fighting for land, for resources, or for power. They were fighting for each other. And that made them stronger than any enemy they faced. Back on Earth, the people watched the battle unfold. They had been watching for months, waiting for the moment when the tide would turn. They were no longer just spectators. They were part of something bigger. They were part of humanity's fight for survival. And in that fight, every human was a soldier, a fighter, a hero. As the battle raged on, it became clear: the Excellenok could not win. Their ships were destroyed one by one, their fleets scattered in retreat. The humans, fueled by their grief and their anger, pressed forward without stopping. And as the last Excellenok ship was destroyed, the galaxy stood in shock. Humanity had won. But the victory wasn't just about defeating an enemy. It was about showing the galaxy that they could no longer be ignored. The death of one human girl had sparked a revolution, and now humanity was a force that no one could ever forget. The victory over the Excellenok had shaken the galaxy to its core. Humanity had proven its strength. No longer would they be seen as weak, as a species to be dismissed. They had fought for their survival, and now they were a force that no one could ignore. The question now was, what would the rest of the galaxy do about it? The Galactic Council, once filled with confidence and authority, was now filled with fear. The Excellenok had been their strongest ally, but they had fallen. And if humanity could defeat them, who could the Council trust? Who could stop the human empire now? Vexnar, the leader of the Council, paced back and forth in the war room. His thoughts were dark and troubled. The humans had taken down the Excellenok fleet with a force no one had predicted. Their ships were powerful, their soldiers relentless. The victory wasn't just a defeat for the Excellenok, it was a defeat for the entire Council. It was a blow to their power, to their control. "We cannot allow humanity to grow any stronger," Vexnar said, his voice sharp. "If we don't act now, we risk losing everything. The galaxy will no longer be ours." The Council members exchanged uneasy glances. They had underestimated humanity before, and they could feel the weight of that mistake. They had once believed that the humans would fall into line, that they would submit to the rules of the galaxy. But the humans had proven them wrong. They had fought for each other, for their families, and for every future human who would live in the galaxy. Now, the entire galaxy would have to reckon with them. What do we do? Lyra, the youngest member of the Council, asked, her voice uncertain. "We can't fight them head-on. They've already defeated the Excellenok. What's left for us?" "There's still one thing we can do," said Gorak, the massive insectoid leader. His voice was deep and rumbling, like the sound of a storm. "We can turn the other species against humanity. We can unite the galaxy's races against them, make them realize that the humans are a threat to everyone." Vexnar nodded slowly, the idea forming in his mind. It was a risky move, but it might be their only option. The galaxy's other species were already beginning to feel the weight of humanity's power. If the Council could manipulate those fears, they might be able to unite the galaxy against a common enemy. "Make it happen," Vexnar ordered. "Send emissaries to the leaders of the other races. If they join together, we can crush the humans before they grow too powerful." Meanwhile, back in the heart of the human empire, the Emperor knew that the victory over the Excellenok was just the beginning. The galaxy might have feared humanity's rise, but they had also learned something important. Humanity would never back down. The death of Emily had sparked something deep inside them, a fire that could not be extinguished. And now, that fire was spreading. The Emperor stood on the balcony of his palace, looking out at the stars. His fleet had returned victorious, but he knew that peace would not come easily. The rest of the galaxy was already plotting, preparing to fight back against humanity's rise. "It will not be easy," the Emperor muttered to himself, "but we have come too far to stop now." The humans were no longer just fighting for revenge. They were fighting for their place in the galaxy. They had proven that they were capable of defeating the most powerful species the galaxy had ever seen. And now they would prove that they could hold their own against anyone. The Emperor called his generals together. "Prepare for the worst. The Council will come for us, but we will not back down. We will defend our people, no matter the cost." The generals nodded in agreement, their faces filled with determination. The people of the human empire had come together like never before. They had fought for Emily, and now they would fight for each other. They were united, stronger than ever before. The message was clear. Humanity was not afraid. They had proven themselves, and now they would stand against anyone who threatened their way of life. Across the galaxy, the Council's emissaries began to spread their message. They spoke of the danger humanity posed, of how the human empire's rise could destroy the balance of power in the galaxy. They painted the humans as a threat, as a species that could not be controlled. They asked the other races to join forces and prepare for war. Some of the races listened. The more cautious species, those who had always feared the unpredictability of humanity, began to prepare their armies. They feared that the rise of humanity would disrupt the power structure of the galaxy. They did not want to lose their position. They did not want to be overshadowed by the human empire. But not all races joined the Council's cause. Some species, those who had witnessed humanity's strength firsthand, began to wonder if the Council was wrong. They had seen the humans fight, seen their unity, and seen their power, and some of them began to see that the humans might not be a threat after all. They might be the galaxy's greatest hope. As the galaxy's leaders took sides, the rest of the galaxy watched. The war was coming, but no one knew which side would emerge victorious. One thing was certain, though. Humanity had changed the game. And no matter what the galaxy did, they would never forget the power of the human empire. The war had come. After months of whispers, alliances, and preparations, the galaxy was now divided. On one side stood the human empire, united and determined. On the other, the Galactic Council had rallied together a coalition of species, all united in their fear of humanity's growing power. The time for peace had long passed. The time for war had arrived. The human empire's fleet gathered at the edge of their space, ready to defend their home. Every ship, every soldier, every civilian had one purpose: to protect their people and their future. The Emperor stood before them, his voice filled with pride and resolve. "This is the moment," the Emperor said. "We fight for Emily. We fight for all who came before us and all who will come after. We will not let the galaxy take away our future." The humans cheered, their spirits unbroken. The fight was not just about survival anymore. It was about freedom, about proving to the galaxy that humanity had a right to exist, to thrive, to lead. Across the stars, the Galactic Council's coalition was ready. Their fleets, though vast and powerful, were filled with uncertainty. The Excelnoc had failed to stop humanity. What hope did they have? Still, they pushed forward, driven by fear and the belief that humanity could not be allowed to control the galaxy. If they didn't act now, the Council feared, they would lose everything. Vexnar, the leader of the Council, watched as the final preparations were made. He was calm on the outside, but inside, his mind raced. He had seen the humans fight. He knew that they weren't like the other species. Their passion, their unity, it made them stronger than anything he had ever witnessed. But he had no choice. He had to stop them. "The humans will never understand our way of life," Vexnar said, his voice full of conviction. "They are too driven by their emotions. We must put an end to them now." His words echoed through the command room, but not everyone agreed. Lyra, the youngest council member, stood silent, her heart torn. She had watched humanity's rise with awe and fear. She had seen the strength they displayed, the bond they shared. They were not like the other races. Perhaps they were not a threat after all. But in this moment, her voice was lost. The council had made its decision. The battle began with a roar that shook the stars. The fleets collided in space, flashing with bright beams of energy and massive explosions. The soundless war played out on the great canvas of the galaxy, each side unleashing everything they had in a desperate bid for control. Human ships, led by the Emperor's flagship, cut through the alien lines. The humans fought with an unmatched ferocity, using every weapon, every strategy they had learned in their months of war. Their tactics were unpredictable, their movements swift, and they never gave up. Every ship that fell was avenged by another, their determination growing stronger with each moment. On the other side, the Council's fleet fought fiercely, but they couldn't keep up. The human ships, fueled by their emotions and their unity, were too powerful. Their technology might not have been the most advanced, but their hearts and minds were their true weapons. Every victory brought more strength. The human fleet fought with purpose, with a sense of justice that the other species could not understand. The Emperor watched the battle unfold on the command bridge of his flagship. His face was set in determination, but inside, he felt the weight of the war. This was more than just a fight for survival. It was a fight for the future. The future of humanity. The future of every human who had ever lived, and every human yet to come. "This ends today," the Emperor muttered. "We will win. We will show them that humanity's place in the galaxy is here to stay." As the battle raged, it became clear that the Council's coalition was losing. The once mighty fleets were being torn apart by the relentless human assault. Ships exploded in the vacuum of space, their crews fighting to the end. The Council's forces, though vast, couldn't match the power of human determination. Then, in the midst of the chaos, a single ship appeared, a massive Xelanok warship, the largest ever built. It was the final weapon, the last hope of the Council. It moved toward the heart of the human fleet, its weapons charged and ready to unleash destruction. But the humans didn't falter. The Emperor's flagship led the charge, moving directly toward the Xelanok ship. With a roar of engines, the human ships launched everything they had at the enormous vessel. Energy beams, missiles, and blasts of fire rained down, striking the Xelanok ship again and again. For a moment, it seemed as though the Xelanok ship might hold. But then, in a burst of light, the ship exploded, its massive frame torn apart by the sheer force of the human assault. The final weapon had been destroyed. The rest of the Council's fleet, seeing their last hope gone, began to retreat. Their morale shattered, their forces scattered. The humans, with victory in their grasp, pressed forward, determined to end the war once and for all. As the Council's forces fled, the humans raised their banners in triumph. The battle was over. The galaxy had been changed forever. The Emperor stood tall, his eyes fixed on the stars. Humanity had proven its strength. They had fought for their future, for each other, and they had won. The rest of the galaxy had learned what humans were capable of. Humanity had risen, and now nothing could stop them.